You are tuning in to the You Are Loved podcast, where we hope to bring love and kindness to the world.
Welcome, everyone, to another You Are Loved podcast. We are so excited to have Miss Elysia Buss on the podcast with us today. And she's originally from Seattle, Washington, now resides in Charlottesville, Virginia. Wow, West Coast to East Coast. She's a transformation coach, equal rights for men and men's rights advocate, YouTube host, and medical massage therapist. She has an amazing partner who has published a children's book and is on his own mission to empower children worldwide. Her life is full and fulfilling as she strives to empower 1 billion people over the next 40 years. That's great, Elysia. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get to be here. We had a wonderful conversation before hopping on here, so I'm looking forward to it.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and like your journey to becoming a transformation coach.
Oh my gosh, so many things. I'm like, how much time do we have again? So where to even begin? So I obviously do a lot of things, but the core of everything that I do is to help people, be it helping them decrease the amount of pain that's in their body and regain function, or if it's to give them a voice to transform their lives and be empowered to be their full and authentic self. So many times in life, we get just like shut down from like societal norms that are like, if we don't fit into like what the standard is, or if we just get stuck in that loop of limiting beliefs and that critical thinking that is not great, like positive critical thinking, not so critical thinking.
Yeah.
But for transformation coaching, I actually originally wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I know this is going to be a meandering sort of thing, but I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and then get to go be a teacher so that I could be on the same sort of schedule as my kids before I realized that teachers have no life because all we do is like teach and then prep for teaching. But then I ended up not getting married or having kids, but I went to college for 10 years over the course of 20 to be an educator. And then,
wow.
Yeah, I joke with people. I'm like, I'm probably one of the most well-educated massage therapists you'll ever run across between 24 years of continuing education for massage and 10 years in college. But yeah, it all really helps me though to be able to be a phenomenal transformation coach because I do have that background of education and understanding like proper scaffolding for how we put together, curriculum and whatnot. So I never really fit in a box.
Yeah.
I'm just not a boxy sort of person. And being a teacher was hard for me because there's unfortunately a lot of hypocrisy that happens in the school system. And I'm just not down with that. And my personality is fairly large. And so it got me into a bit of trouble because my voice was a little too loud about the things that were less than ideal. But when you're a coach, you get to just coach in whatever way is true to you. And I'm also a very playful person. So a cornerstone of how I coach is helping people engage their inner child and learn how to play as a grown-up and just finding our way to have ethical boundaries around what we believe and who we want to engage with so that we can be ourself unapologetically yet mindfully. Because when you're being mindful, you don't tend to need to apologize.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, but I like that because you saw the hypocrisies and because you're a stand-up person and are not afraid, you spoke out about that. And we're hoping for a change, but the politics in it, they like to sit in cesspools. So unfortunately.
Yeah, it was hard. It was interesting because I went to college to become a public educator, and then I also had a Waldorf teaching certificate. So it was like I was too Waldorf for public and too public for Waldorf. So I just didn't really fit in enough anywhere. And that's part of why I love working with people all over the world, because getting to have different cultural perspectives and understanding that like we're all different in our own and beautiful ways. And instead of just trying to like squish people down and try and force them into a box and believe a certain thing, it's really understanding like the core values of getting to be a good person. And like, there's billions of people on the planet. Like we can all find our tribe of people where we can be fully ourselves and in integrity and not oppressing anybody else.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that on your website you have come flirt with your future in a discovery call with transformation coach Elysia Bus. And I like the wording on that. But you know, a lot of times when individuals, because I have a friend of mine who was a teacher, okay, and then she went into real estate, okay, and did amazing at that. And she's got her own, I think she ended up becoming a broker, but she has her own pool of teams. And then she created educational classes for individuals that were looking to either purchase a home or for financing or for different things like that. So she created training classes around that. So,
that's awesome.
Right. So her natural proclivity is to have teaching, but you get to be able to do it in a different way. And I think something that you obviously are able to control, and you probably hopefully feel like you have a little bit more impact. So because as we all get damaged as children, you know, we need someone to help us transform out of like the bad things, not the good things, obviously, but the bad things that, you know, either happen to us or the beliefs that we've created about ourselves. You know, like it's like as a kid, like someone could say like 1,000 nice things to you, and then like you have one person that's a bully and we just hold on to that, you know, that one bully. And it's just that we keep reminding ourselves. And so it's nice to be able to have someone like yourself that's able to help do that. So what type of transformation coaching like do you do, and what's your favorite like about what you do?
Ooh, what's my favorite? There's a balance there because some of the transformation coaching I do is teaching people how to flirt, which most people are like, say what? Also very separate from my massage business. Let's just be exceedingly clear. Like these things do not cross.
Yeah, that's good.
Two different kinds of professionalism. But with the flirting coaching, it's about teaching people how to ethically flirt. And that comes from an understanding of what our values are individually and how we can then communicate from a place of authenticity and reading the nonverbal communication and energy of other people, and understanding that people pleasers can give false consent about all sorts of different things in life. And we can live in a higher level of integrity and flirt in a more relaxed and fun and confident way when we understand what those things look like for ourselves, as well as how to identify them in other people. So I found it to be really empowering, both for myself and for other people, because I've been a flirt all my life, and it's been gone from like not the greatest when I was younger and not having the best boundaries and all the damaging things that can occur from there, to being a very ethical, fun, playful flirt. Because to me, flirting is just complimentary banter. Like it doesn't have to even go anywhere sexual. It's just being relaxed inside of yourself and identifying like when somebody is open to receiving that, and just bantering back and forth and just keeping things.
I love like joking around with my friends, and like I have like a number of guy friends, right? And I feel safe flirting or joking around with them because I'm not expecting them to try to hit on me or anything like that. So I get to have that type of engagement without having to worry about them taking it the wrong way, you know, and like teasing them, stuff like that. Yeah, I love that. It's always like a lot of fun. So, and then some people will misrepresent it as me trying to flirt with them. I'm like, no, we were just joking around. Like, relax.
Yeah. And that's something too, helping people understand where like the communication is, and to not place judgment and our projections on other people, because we have so many different types of relationships anymore. Like we have people who are polyamorous, and we have people that are they get off on like watching their partner flirt with other people. Like instead of judging people for what it is that they like, and like, oh, well, I'm a monogamous person, that's not okay. Be like, you don't know what conversation that person had with their partner as to what is okay. So for instance, like my partner and I are madly in love with each other. It's fantastic. he knows I'm a flirting coach. He knows that I'm a giant flirt in general. He does not feel that me flirting with other people or teaching people how to flirt in any way, shape, or form decreases the integrity of our relationship or like puts anything at risk, which is really cool. And I'm so grateful to have a partner that can be in that space with me. And I don't care if he flirts with other women either, because I know that there is not a chance in heck that like any woman is going to hold a candle and threaten our relationship.
Yeah.
Because we're just good. We have amazing communication across the board. And so helping people have better communication in general so that they can create healthy relationships and get rid of toxic relationships and toxic environments is definitely something that I love doing.
Yeah. Speaking of your partner, so tell us about his children's book. Like, what's that about?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. I Choose to Be Me is such a beautiful book. He wrote it and illustrated it himself using AI technology, because that's one of the things that he does is AI support. He's also formerly an engineer. He worked on like the spaceship Galactica. I'm like, yeah, my boyfriend's pretty cool. He like legit worked on a spaceship. I don't know. I mean, I'm a sucker for space. So he told me that. I was like, yeah, so you want to hang out later? I want to.
Yeah, let's hang out.
Like all the things. Yeah, but he's so balanced and like he's an engineer and has this amazing analytical brain, but also created a children's book. So his children's book has to do with helping kids with their I am document, which is I am strong, I am smart, I am like a creator of beautiful art, you know, whatever that is. And what's so cool about that is as we're growing up, right, people start labeling us, unfortunately. And then like you had brought up bullies, like that can happen. But when we decide who we are and how we stand in that and how that shows up in our day to day, we're less susceptible to those things, those labels that people try to put on us. We're less susceptible to peer pressure. And I really think that that can literally save lives. It can decrease violence in schools. It can increase self-worth. It can decrease suicide. Like it's just such a powerful thing. And then he's also wanting to have families then work together to create like their family manifesto. So then the parents get to write their I am statements and like, who are we as a family? Like what's our family like I am sort of statement. And I just think that that can radically change all of our lives, no matter how old we are, is to create our I am document.
Yeah, especially for families that want to grow and self-develop. I think that's amazing, you know, and I guess that's where you could come in, is to help him create training programs around that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we are doing that. And we were just having a conversation recently about actually creating a workshop for men and for couples having to do with communication. So like when we can just keep it easy as us ladies, we're frustrated about something.
Yeah.
Maybe we just want to vent, like whatever it is. And then oftentimes our male identifying partners are just like, let me tell you how to fix it. And then we get kind of cranky about that. Because you're like, that's not actually what I'm asking for right now. I just want to have this conversation. And helping to teach our partners how to check in, how to be present enough in the conversation and just ask, do you want a sounding board right now? Or do you want me to help fix it? Yeah. And then being able to hold that space for a partner one way or the other, and asking that on the front end, because if they say, yes, I want you to help me to fix it, like after I'm done venting about whatever, then the guy can be like thinking about how to do that. And if he is not like, the partner is not wanting them to do that, then him doing whatever he needs to hold that space to just actively listen and be supportive. And then at the end of the conversation, be like, okay, what do you need? Like, do you need a hug? Do you need food? Do you need me to just like give you space? Like in helping to empower women to communicate their needs just as much as we're empowering men to hold this space as those providers for us. In that particular like dynamic. And so decreasing mansplaining and increasing empowerment for both parties and increasing quality relationships. And, you know, guys don't need to get their heads bit off, and women don't need to like experience more frustration. Everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly. My partner, Amy, who's my business partner, she used to get upset with me because like she's like a little sister to me, and I'm very protective over her. And so she would like come to me, and I would always try to find a resolution. Then I had to realize that like she's just wanting to vent sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn to like ask her that and get better at not trying to resolve all of her problems and just listen.
Right. So it's not a gender specific like comment. I
No.
just like we bring
Yeah.
it up in the
But
same
no, but
group,
men
like,
do
so
that way more.
often.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they want to fix things, and that's a beautiful thing for them to want to do and to be able to provide for us. But also, like for all of us as people, to be able to be more mindful and be more present. And then for me, because the reason this workshop came to be is because this conversation happened between me and my partner when I was just like, no. But before I vented to him, I was like, hey, do you have the bandwidth to listen to me vent? Because sometimes the other person is just like, I've had a shit day. I do not have the bandwidth to listen to you then.
Yeah.
And, a flip question to them can be like, okay, I have the bandwidth to listen to you vent if you're willing to take action after.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Because some people are just like, I can do it for that, but I don't have the bandwidth to listen to you just like vent and just to vent.
Yeah.
Because it's too frustrating to me.
Yeah.
You're not actually going to do something about it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We're guys, because they have to like feel like they need to resolve it for you or figure out a solution. But sometimes after we get it out, then we're over it and we move on. That's just like, that's our resolving it,
Absolutely. Yeah. And after the conversation, I had just a couple minutes and he's like, okay, and let's shift the energy and like take some breaths. And I was just like, I wasn't done. Like, that's not what I needed at the end of the process.
Yeah.
But he and I have such a beautiful like communication and bond that he processed, and he came back to me afterwards. And his solution to that whole situation was humbleness and being like, wow, that really helped me realize how much of my life I actually haven't been present for. And he's like, and I want to help empower other men and couples by us doing this workshop, so other people don't need to like continue doing that, and we can gain more awareness of how we're actually walking through space.
Yeah. That's amazing. And that would be such a blessing to other individuals and couples where the woman's not feeling heard and the guy's feeling frustrated, and really helping them to like get through those communication boundaries and really understanding each other and providing that space and that respect for them to feel loved and accepted. And that.
Yeah. And having a better understanding of codependency.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Like, can you go into that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So codependency could be like one person is always venting and the other one's always solving the problem. There's this expectation of the dynamic of codependency versus interdependency, which can be that advocacy of like, this is what I need, and the other person saying like, this is what I have available.
Yeah. I've had to say that to people when they're like calling me, whatever. I'm just like, I don't have the emotional capacity for this right now. But sometimes people get offended when I say that to them, but I'm just like, because I could be dealing with something where I'm like highly frustrated, and I know that if I get involved in this conversation, I may be snappy, and it probably does come off a little that way. I don't intentionally mean it. I'm just kind of letting them know, look, I don't have the space. I can't have this conversation. Let's, we'll regroup at another time. But yes.
I've been on both sides of that conversation. I went through something really difficult last year. It was like a year and a half ago. And my best friend is in another state, and she was having her own stuff, and she was just maxed out. She had no space. And so even though I was in a really like dark place, she was just like, I can't, like, I don't have the bandwidth. And that was really difficult for me to hear, because I was like, you're my best friend. Like, I really need you in this moment. And that's why it's so important for us to build out our network, so that we have more than like one or two or even three people sometimes, depending on what you're doing in life, because we can't put that pressure on other people. Like, we can't have one person be like our sole person for our mental health, because they'll burn out, and it's really not actually even fair to them. And so that's why it's important for us to have counselors and or coaches and our like a bigger network of friends. And it's just like, and if you feel like, oh, I don't have any friends, then That's another thing that I help people with, because I talk to anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
Can help you learn how to make friends as a grown-up. But yeah, and then on the other end, like I've told my friends that like hey, or even like my partner, I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for this conversation. Like you're going to need to talk to somebody else. Because I will not necessarily be a nice person right now, because I am a super nice person, but even I have my limits, just like you were talking about. Like, yeah, I have my off days and I will be like, I will be snappy, and I don't want to put myself in positions to not be able to be my best self. Like if I have the choice, right?
Yeah. Now, how do you, I was going to say, do you guys ever do like retreats or anything like that? Like with like a lot of the people that you've had through your coaching programs?
Not yet. It is on the docket for like future planning stuff to create retreats. I do have incredible people in my global network. So if a group of people, say like, I don't know, 6 to 12 reached out to me and they're like, hey, we want to create this thing. I could figure out, okay, what country do you want it to be in? What kind of topics do you want to have it covered, so that I could just like, I could do it. I could reach out to other people within my network of heart-centered coaches of integrity that we could pull in, and I can literally custom make a retreat for people.
Yeah.
Just depends on their financial bandwidth on what they want to create.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. We did we put together like, cause we have our company, which is YouAreLoved.store, which we put together items to help people create more balance and harmony, right, for women and
Awesome.
stuff
I
like
love
that.
it.
And so when we first started, we put together a 21-day transformational journal. So, if you ever do some retreats, we can always look at it and enhance it, and then give it to an E1 to your people for free. So as a thank you for them going. So just let me know.
For sure. That would be great. I've been journaling since I was 7. I'm a big advocate of journaling.
Yeah. I can see where, like, especially when you're going through a lot of stuff, like just how it really helps you. Because we like to talk about things as women, it just really helps us to process that information, and it gives us an opportunity to get it out. And yeah, and it has guided questions and stuff. But I really would love. I'm going to send it to you. But I'd love for you to take a look at it and then just let me know where it could be better.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be happy to do so. Be honored.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you guys are gonna be putting this program together,
Yes,
and then
probably in the next couple weeks.
Okay,
you guys can look at it guys can find information on it in my men's group for global resources for men, and then my women's group on Facebook is Phoenix Rising Women's Group, and that's a global group. We've got about 500 women in it, I think.
Okay, are you going to put links to that on your website from ElysiaBus.com?
ElysiaBus.com. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because I see your coaching packages on here. You guys have a 6-week course, 3-month one-on-one, and a one-on-one coaching session, which is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I actually have a 24-hour special that I'm happy to get to announce, that it's just this one-time bit and it's 50% off. So people can do a 4-week session with me, or they can choose to do a longer session.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So, yeah, they can just like us let you know they heard about it on here to be able on the You Are Loved podcast to be able to hear about that. So I think that's awesome. How long have you and your other half been together?
It's really new. It's 1 month today that we met each other.
Shut the front door. Wow.
And yeah, I went to this incredible event called Transcendence that was created by Uplift Millions, by Loke. He's incredible. And I had this postulate that I was going to meet my life partner at the event. And I walked in on the first day, and I think it was within an hour, like tops, that he walked in, and he just sat down, and I was like, oh, like that, there's my person or whatever. And it was just kind of this really beautiful synergy. And he's actually from my hometown, but we were in Scottsdale, Arizona, where we met. I'm from Olympia, Washington. And
wow.
so, yeah, we went to rival high schools. He's 3.5 years younger than me. And so there's a chance that we were literally like in the same football stadium because my brother's 4 years younger than me, like watching a football game. And
Uh-huh.
it's his oldest son's birthday is like the same as mine.
Wow, that's
Yeah, just a bunch of
amazing.
random stuff. And he was here a couple weeks ago, and he'll be back here visiting me in Charlottesville on Friday for the weekend. And so it's been really amazing, but there are like no red flags at all.
That's
We just have
great.
phenomenal communication, and he's goofy like me, and he accepts me, and he's a man of purpose. And, we get to walk kind of like hand in hand in that journey of alignment. And I've lived long enough and experienced enough relationships to know when things work and like
When they don't, yeah.
and when they don't, and also be confident enough in myself that I'm just like, yeah, I plan on moving to Phoenix here in March, which is super exciting. And for us to figure that out. But if for some bizarre reason things don't work, I'm a strong enough and intelligent enough person to just be able to pivot, which is why the name of my business is Playful Pivot, because I've experienced a lot of interesting things in my life, from traumatic to inspirational to just completely random. And so to be able to pivot, like I've been homeless at least 3 different times in my life.
Wow.
One was when I had my first back surgery. So like couch surfing, recovering from back surgery is a whole different thing. Yeah. When I moved to Charlottesville, like I moved here with nothing. Like I had what was in the back of my truck and $100 left to my name after I managed to get an apartment, and slept on the floor the first 3 nights that I was here. But in 10 months, I made $55,000 doing massage,
Wow.
just taking my business cards and walking around town. So I'm like, yeah. So I met my boyfriend the old school way in person, and and I created business from scratch, like in a city where I knew no one and didn't have a job or had a place to live. I just showed up and I was like, okay, Charlottesville, I'm here. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's amazing. What made you decide to move there from the West
Washington?
Coast? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was on tour promoting the 2 global men's summits that I had created. One was on masculinity in business, and the other was on masculinity in relationships. And I'd driven cross country 3 times back and forth over 4.5 months. And I was almost going back to Washington. And my mom was just like, you're always like a big fish in a small pond when you're here. She's like, you need to go somewhere else. And I checked out Virginia after I'd been teaching in upstate New York, because one of the guys I worked with was obsessed with the Dave Matthews Band. So on my 6,000-mile journey back from New York to Washington State in 2019, I was like, I'll check out Charlottesville. And it was pretty, and everybody was super nice. And so when I was on the road and was like, where am I going to go? I was like, we'll go to Charlottesville. So I drove back from San Francisco again, all the way back across the country to Virginia. But before I did, and this is just a like random side note, since I'm clearly rambly this morning, I need more coffee. On my men's summits, it's important to me that I always have representation, including people with disabilities. And people of color and like veterans and all these different sorts of categories and whatnot. And one of the amazing speakers that I had was this young man. I think he was 25 at the time. This young Black man who had cerebral palsy and was in a wheelchair. His presentation, his dream was to get to be a public speaker. And I gave that to him. And I say that because I don't know who like got more out of that. Like me getting to see him, getting to listen to his story. And like, I was almost crying the entire time. Like it was just so powerful. And so I talked to his caretaker. And when I was on my way back to Virginia, I didn't even know if I'd have enough money to get to Virginia and making this extra stop. And I went down to Austin, Texas, and I surprised him. And I slept in my truck in like 18-degree weather in Oklahoma in order to get there. And when I walked in that front door, you would have thought that I was Taylor Swift. He was just like, what? And we got it on film. It's just, it was such a beautiful experience. And Michael Vaughn is his name. He's an incredible human being.
So that's amazing. That's amazing. And so he got to be able to speak on stage and shared his story and
It was over Zoom. He wasn't on the stage
Oh,
at
okay.
the time, but it was for the global summit. And I think it was the one on relationships. Because my third was on masculinity and mental health, and then my most recent one was on fatherhood.
Oh, wow.
And I've
Okay.
had one global women's summit, and it was on motherhood.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm hoping to get more representation from the Indigenous people, like First Nations people, refugees, and immigrants, because I feel like those are voices we don't hear from enough.
Yeah, and understanding more of the culture and and just understanding a little bit more about how I think with like a lot of other families and stuff like that that aren't necessarily American, like a lot of Spanish families is before they become Americanized, I guess, per se, which is unfortunate bad term right now, which basically means like in a lot of the Indian families and Spanish families and probably the and I'm talking when I first said Indian, I meant people from India. And then also individuals that are Cherokee Indian or whichever. A lot of times they're way more close knit within the communities and really support and uplift each other and help each other more than where like a lot of times and other families like my family or whatever, everybody's so divided and like separated and stuff like that. And it's not 100% like that because I do have families that we do help each other to an extent. Okay. But what's funny is not funny, but like God came to me in a dream the other night and he was like basically like it just showing like this is the only family you have, Jackie. Like you need to get it together.
Grace is a big thing. Yeah. Like I talk to people a lot about grace.
Yeah.
Like the grace that we give other people as well as the grace that we give ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we place so many expectations on ourselves and on other people. And it's so important to have healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Also, like look at people from like our higher selves to their higher selves.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say like our higher selves, it's more of like some people would say like your God self or whatnot, like the purest part of who you are versus like your human self. It always sounds kind of funny when I say it like that, but it's more like our human selves are what ends up oftentimes hurting other people.
Yeah.
Like that's where our triggers come from, our traumas, like us lashing out on people. But we're in that space of our truest self, then like that's not where we hurt people from. So when we can look at another person and we can speak from that space of calm and grace and like unconditional love from like one soul to another and trying to speak to them as if you're speaking to their higher self, it makes it a lot easier for us to hold that space of grace while also having our healthy boundaries. Because when we look at people and we speak to them from that space of their higher self, in a way, energetically, it creates more space for that person to step into that space. Even if it's not in that moment, like the more consistently we are communicating to people in that way, the easier it becomes for them to also see and experience themselves in that way.
Yeah.
Right?
When you are like teaching people like how to flirt and stuff like that, and then also you instill these healthy boundaries, like how do they coincide with each other? Like how do you best help people with that?
Can you ask that question a slightly different way?
Maybe.
Oh
shit. Sorry. Okay. So what I'm thinking is okay, here's the question. How to have healthy boundaries when you're flirting with other people? Like what does that look like?
How to have healthy boundaries when flirting with other people is being able to check what your intention is and what that other person is potentially open for. So checking to see if they're wearing a wedding ring is a really great start.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Starting with something that's just a softer land of like, hey, like, how are you doing today? And seeing what their body language is and how receptive they are to something. So having more patience and confidence makes that a lot easier.
Yeah.
To have healthy.
So if someone is like, I used to be like a people pleaser, I've definitely probably still have that tendency in certain aspects of my life. But so if someone is like that and they are wanting to flirt with someone and that person's willing to flirt back, but how do they create, what is like some healthy boundaries look like for themselves to make sure that it stays, you know, in an area they want it to stay in? I guess that
An area to stay in.
like, you know, like their comfortability level.
I think so much of it is like really allowing yourself to be embodied. And when I say embodied, it's like literally feeling your body, because so often we'll get stuck in our heads, right? It's like, oh, does this person like me? Am I saying the right thing? Like, what should I do? Right? Instead of just like relaxing into your body and into your heart space and listening to your intuition. Because our intuition, it will never guide us astray.
No.
And so that's what I think, like helping people get better at being inside of their bodies and listening to that versus listening to their triggers, because our instincts and our intuition, our triggers, they can kind of seem the same sometimes. But if you really allow yourself to drop in, and like it's a cleaner, like clearer sort of message from our intuition versus I think that triggers can feel almost a little bit more staticky. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of
I'm like, do you need a follow-up? You can give me a follow-up.
No, it's just like I was just thinking, I don't know. It's okay. No.
It's just like the boundaries with ourselves, I think oftentimes comes from a place of intention, right?
Okay.
So it's just like, what is our intention, and are we pushing our agenda too hard?
Right.
Right. So that's where the boundaries come in. I think is sometimes because if we're feeling insecure, it's really easy to blur boundaries. Or if we're like super like sexually charged, because like for women, say we're ovulating and we're just like oozing out our sexual energy.
Yeah.
That is just pheromones are going, all kinds of fun things. Right. And so when those things are happening, that increased awareness of like what's going on with your body and how that can be impacting other people on a more subtle level requires an increased level of mindfulness on our part to what we're putting out there. Right. Yeah. Because at that point, that's like a subconscious situation that's happening. But yeah, it's just the true power is within ourselves. Like as women, we can have all the power.
Yeah.
All of it.
So, that's very true. Okay. You know, that helps answer it better. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So where can people like get some more information about everything that you guys do, and like your links and stuff like that to your social media and your website? And
thank you so much. Yeah. So you can go to elysiabus.com. So that's ELYSIABUSS.com for anybody who's listening but not seeing my name. And then you can find me on social media at Playful Pivot on Instagram, or on my name on Instagram as well, Elysia, but Elysia Jane Bust, JANE.
Okay.
But you can really Google me. If you just Google my name, I'm all over the internet.
Oh, that's great. How did you come up with Playful Pivot?
Yeah, Playful Pivot was just, so I'm also a dancer. And so it was just that ability to pivot and spin and do all sorts of different things. And legitimately, I have pivoted my life so many times.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes me such a great coach, because I don't judge people. I don't shame them for the places that they've been or the mistakes that they're even currently making, as long as you're ready and willing to take action on those things. And I just love to play. I'm just a super duper playful person. Like there's a time and a place to be serious, but it's a very small sliver compared to what people think that it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You seem kind of like a free spirit. My friend, I was always kind of like a free spirit when I was younger, and yeah. So it was hard for me to want to settle down, even though I wanted like a husband and children. I didn't end up accomplishing that part of it, but and I was like, and they're like, well, what happened? I was like, I don't know. This is where life took me, you know?
Yeah.
I just kind of went with the flow with things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 44. I've never been married. I don't have any kids. So like stepping into partnership with somebody who has 2 kids is a very different space to be in. And I think it's important for us to like not judge ourselves. Like, I love that we get to be the age that we are and be like, yeah, we never got married. Like, that's okay. Like, this is just the road that we took, and how like everything that you did led you to this moment, and you getting to do your podcast and empower so many people and give voices to people. And like create your 21-day journaling prompts. Like, I think it's really powerful and beautiful what you've created in the world today. Yeah. So
Appreciate
thank you for all of that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love everything that you've done as well. And I love that you guys have been together for a month and you're already building stuff together and wanting to help empower and encourage other individuals and relationships and so forth. And I just think that's absolutely amazing that that you have someone that's like on the same wavelength as yourself, and that you guys are able to, and he's totally supportive and able to help you build this together. So I just think that's super exciting. And that you go with the flow enough that where you're like, okay, I'll move back across country again.
Yeah, sounds fun. I've lived in 6 states already.
Yeah. I live in Georgia. My mom's in Florida and my dad's in Alabama. And I just spent the week with him over there. And I'm thinking about like selling my mom's house and moving her up to and buying a house cash in Alabama. And so we can be close to my dad. Yeah. So I have wanted to live in like Texas. And when I was younger, I wanted to live in New York, but I just wanted to stay close to my parents too. So I just came one state away.
Right. I understand. I'm super close to my parents. My mom is a phenomenal human being. She became a wellness coach at 71.
Wow.
Yeah, and she became a personal trainer at age 68. So
wow.
Looking for wellness coaching for women 55 and over, it's wellnessforwomen.com. And like shameless plug for my mom, Vicki Muirhead.
That's amazing, because there's a lot of women who after that age just have a new transformation in their lives and are like, what am I going to do next? Like, I'm over 55 now. I'm gonna, like, I got like an AARP. I'm 51. I got like an AARP card. And I was like, this is some disrespectful bullshit, right? Get out of here. So but so then when like you're 55 and older and stuff like that, and 60s, it's like this whole other transition in your life and these emotional things that we go through, and like, oh my gosh, like, have I accomplished everything? What's going to happen next? And it's just kind of crazy. And so I think that's great that your mom is being a blessing to these other women and a mentor to other individuals that really are going through a lot of emotional changes in their lives. So I think that's awesome. So
I really appreciate that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so happy that you did. Hopefully we'll get to stay connected.
Look forward to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you.
All right. Same here, Elysia. Have an amazing day.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of You Are Loved. If you have any topic ideas or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up on Instagram at youareloved.store.
And I forgot to throw in there, if anybody is looking for a planner for next year, we do have an 18-month You Are Loved planner, which helps women to create more harmony and balance in their lives. And as you heard, we have the 21-day transformational journal. So we look forward to connecting with you, and have an amazing day.